This is really heady stuff for me. A black boy from Edgefield, South Carolina. Those of you who I sometimes drone on about Edgefield. It's nefarious in some ways, but it's a beautiful place ecologically. And growing up from the second grade on and watching birds and always knowing what Audubon stood for, and being here in front of, being here is just very special. And so I'm honored to represent my fellow TGers. I look out and see the brilliance of ideas reflected in the faces of my fellow TogetherGreen members, and it's as if the sun has risen behind each of you, somehow lightening your like so many blooming prairie flowers. This being one of the most distinct honors of my lifetime, to stand for you on this day as we move forward to change the world, to act today, and to shape tomorrow. You've just witnessed what the power of ideas melded with passion and shaped by hard work can produce. The stories of all of the members of the inaugural class of the TogetherGreen Fellowship come together in a rich mosaic of diverse ideas from equally diverse people. Early career, mid-career, redefining and finding careers. From a multi-hued collage of visions, passions, ages, ethnicities, and cultures. We are, I think, a miracle of some natural selection. Somehow we've been fortunate enough to have caught the imagination of the National Audubon Society and Toyota. We've triggered their generosity, and they've chosen us from the four corners of this continent to do things that some of us could only imagine. We came together a year ago with absolutely no idea, most of us, what all of this would mean. I think the uncertainty of sitting next to someone who you'd never seen before, had no idea what their visions were, much less rooming with people who you had no idea of who they were, led to some trepidation, but we all quickly discovered that although we were often dramatically different in many ways, both seen and unseen, Angela, that just beneath our sternums beat this huge collective heart that was primed by the passion to conserve nature, edify people in nature, and return the furred, feathered, finned, and scaled to their rightful places where we might restore nature. Now, I'm sure most of you remember last year when we were commiserating over these conservation action plans. What did it all mean? How are we going to get to these endpoints that seem to be kind of ambiguously defined? Or maybe how emotionally painful and exhausting it was to pull the scabs off of the diversity issue so that we could truly begin to heal and move ahead. But somehow, amidst the scarlet and gold of that West Virginia autumn, often together, sometimes alone, we found our way. We found our paths to a new place and a renewed sense of purpose for conservation. I've never known a year to pass this quickly. The funding finally came. The projects got started, modified, restarted, plan A, B, C through Z, and we worked. The long hours, delays, personal trials, and tribulations manifest themselves through you, your labors, your blood, sweat, and oftentimes your tears, to now here, this place, and this hour of honor. It is time to celebrate all that you have dreamed of, toiled and sweated and worried over, the hot days, long nights, aching backs, and dirty hands you sacrificed, means that there is now a new paradigm. A new way in place to think about how we can better partner with nature and our fellow human animals in this new place. I think that Mr. Lash called it redefining our place in the universe, and I think that's precisely what we are doing. Look around you. Look on the back wall back there, and I think that it's proper and fitting that here in this museum there are representations of all of us. There are stories not only of us as people, but our places in nature and how we think about nature. So you look at that back wall, and what it really represents is who we were. The person whose ideas alone brought them to the attention of Audubon and Toyota. And if you look to the right, if you look at that long scroll with the pictographs there, it tells a different story. It tells the story of us now. Really very different people. Sure, the core is the same, but we've been emboldened by ideas and dreams and confidence and a new way of doing things. The scroll that you see is art melded with science and passion and purpose. It is almost 40 projects with no words, but easily deciphered. It represents, again, who we have become. And maybe it is who we will be. The incredible Audubon and TogetherGreen staff, Judy Browse, Ann Umali Ferguson, Flo Miller, Melissa Hopkins, Brenda Tim, Taryn Martinez, and others, have been nothing less than superb in encouraging and supporting our success. I'm sure they can quote by the numbers, and the accountants will be very happy, all of the dollars that discreetly define our collective success. Multiple projects completed, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've generated directly and in kind, volunteer hours worked, and partnerships that were engendered. So I hope that the National Audubon Society and Toyota Motor of North America will be pleased with the return on the investment. But I think for all of those tangible things, all of those things that someone can put in columns and rows, that things we did and continue to do, there was something else that's not quite so easily calculated. In a declining economy, Toyota and Audubon took a risk, a huge risk, on us. So gamble with no out, a chance with no opportunity for recollection. There is no bailout plan here for us. They saw our ideas on paper and helped them come to life. That in itself is nothing less than miraculous to me. But beyond those things that we calculated, there were lives changed. Yes, there were new hearts and minds and hands that were brought to bear on sundry conservation issues that we all deem important. And hopefully the new legions of adults and children who we've taught to look at the world in a new way, and sometimes for the first time, for many of these people, the first time in thinking about nature, that those people will stay engaged in the fight. But I know for me, and I know for all of these faces of my brothers and sisters that I look into their eyes, that the trajectory of lives have been changed both personally and professionally. And I think those changes have been for the better and forever. So TogetherGreen Fellows, we reconnected ourselves to our purposes. We were given permission to wear our conservation hearts on our sleeves. It was about all kinds of things, terns and tortoises, important bird areas and human diversity. It was about art and new partnerships, educating children and adults in city centers and in country crop fields. It was about restoration of the wild spirit and the human land legacy. It was about wetlands and deserts and farms and fields. It was about finding new ways in recovering old mistakes. It was about bringing to reality each and every one of your passions. Now, Audubon and Toyota, you may just not understand what you have created here. This is more than some successful experiment. It's more than just a risk. What you did is you created a living, breathing superorganism, and something far greater than the sum of its parts. This beast, with a multi-hued plumage of many ideas, cultures, and identities, flies to task with a peregrine's purpose, runs to challenges with the deer's urgency, and works with the beaver's ethic. Beneath all of this beats, again, that biggest heart. We are now one emergent entity whose philosophy of conservation will surely shape tomorrow. And so here, in celebration of all of this, we TogetherGreen Fellows find ourselves at an end. The press will dwindle. The Audubon Toyota dollars will stop. but you cannot. As the hugs and handshakes mingle with the farewells, let's not ever let this wonderful thing die. So thank you, National Audubon Society and Toyota, for taking 40 risks. Thank you for giving us permission to be passionate for conservation in all the diverse ways that it deserves to be cared for. Each of us has bonded in ways that you will never gain an accounting for, I'm sorry. But I think the investment will pay off. Head to heart to hand, we're all linked. I, for one, can not now or evermore live without any of you. And so I was thinking about this, and in many cultures there are naming ceremonies. And as much and as often as you call someone's name, you bond to it. And so I'm going to call all of your names, because I want that to bind to me. So if you could just stand up. Avery Anderson, James Barnes, Eric Beck, Penelope Baudry Sanders, Marcelo Bonta, Rosalie Borzik, Michael Berger, who can't be with us because he has the swine flu. Thank you, Michael. Gabriela Castaneda, Barbara Chari, Eric Clough, Lorelei Costa, Tony DeFalco, Ana Flores, Kurt Gervich, Christine Hannon, Tom Hissong, Heath Kirstead, Dan Kunkel, David Lamfrom, Marion Langan, Amy Mead, Sean Miller, Ileana Pena, Robin Powell, Kim Meyer Ramirez, Mamoon Rashid, Louis Reed, Julian Rubio, Keith Russell, Jenny Seitz, Jim Shallow, Julie Speck, Ian Stenhouse, Tice Suppley, Stephanie Swain, Gloria Villegas Gardosa, and Don York.
One more.
Yeah, you know I'm short.
Christy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And Drew Lanham.
I'm here. I don't think that love is too strong a word to use when we invoke our true passions for something. My dear TogetherGreen Fellows, Christy, please always remember that I love you all. And that as we pass from this place, that we are all inextricably bound to one another. So as we leave, be well, love nature, and please stay in touch.